Hey everybody, Seth Campbell here with a new Segue Says podcast. Well, in this episode, we're going back to a genre of segue that we haven't really done in a while, and that's a ruin the mood segue, where the first song is meaningful or sad or thoughtful or powerful in some way, shape, or form, and then the second song totally wrecks the mood, either by, going from something quiet and thoughtful to something loud and hard rock, or in this case, to something ridiculous and silly. So the two songs this time are Sprawl 2, Mountains Beyond Mountains by Arcade Fire, and Movin' Right Along from the Muppet movie. So these songs actually, as songs, work really well together. And the only reason that, you might not necessarily want to perform this is just how ridiculous Movin' Right Along is. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, Sprawl 2, Mountains Beyond Mountains, which I'm just going to call Sprawl 2 from this point, because Mountains Beyond Mountains is in parentheses, because, like on several Arcade Fire albums, there's Sprawl 1, and that has an additional title, and then Sprawl 2, it's something they do a lot. They're a Canadian avant-garde synth-pop rock band. They did a concept album called The Suburbs in 2012 that described, I think, as like neither an indictment of nor love letter to the suburbs as a concept. Just it's a lot of songs that are comparing suburban life versus city life, for better and for worse. And Arcade Fire, a number of the band members sang. This one is sung, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right. If it's the full French-Canadian inflection, it would be Regine Chassange, I believe, who is one of the band members and also is married to another of the band members, Win Butler. So she sings this song. She has a very high vocal range that, honestly, the first time I heard the recording of this song, and I'll elaborate on that in a moment, I actually thought it was a lost Kate Bush track, because she kind of has that similar, like, very high, sort of gentle voice that sort of, it doesn't, like, it's not very rigid in where it hits the notes. It's more sort of lilting and flowing freely. So this is that song, and I first heard of this song, that was when I first heard the actual original Arcade Fire recording. But I learned of this song because my good friend Will Daly, who I've mentioned and featured occasionally some of his songs in this podcast, did a cover of this very song. He was doing it live for a couple of years and then recorded it as a bonus track for his album National Throat, which I've talked about before. I did a podcast actually specifically to mark the release of that album, and if you haven't heard it yet, go now. I'll wait. Pause this, go listen to that album just because it's so good, then come back. But anyway, Sprawl 2, Mountains Beyond Mountains. Now, obviously, I don't have the high vocal range of Regine Chassange, but she sings it so high that this is one of the rare cases where a female vocalist sings something so high that I'm comfortable enough to bring it down a full octave, much as Will Daly does. Well, I learned this from Will Daly, so of course it's the way he does it, but I can bring it down a full octave, and it still works. Trust me, that's better than they told me to stop. You don't want a whole episode of that. So I'm just going to do it down an octave, but staying in the original key of E flat. They heard me singing and they told me to stop. It's really got this sort of driving beat. Quit these pretentious things and just punch the clock. These days my life, I feel it has no purpose. But late at night these feelings swim to the surface. 'Cause on the surface the city lights shine. They're calling at me, come and find your kind. Sometimes I wonder if the world's so small that we can never get away from the sprawl. living in the sprawl. Dead shopping malls rise like mountains beyond mountains, and there's no end in sight. I need the darkness, someone please shut the lights. So here it's rhythm heavy. The chords are pretty simple. It's just E flat, C minor, A flat. And there is a bridge that goes into another key for a moment, but those are really the only chords you need to worry about for the purpose of the segue, and that's what all the verses and choruses are anyway. And like I said, it's very synth heavy as well, sort of organ and stuff. I guarantee you've heard this on the radio somewhere. I have heard it everywhere from, bars to CVS to, Guitar Center to Dunkin' Donuts. Like, if you've been anywhere where the radio is played since 2012, I'm sure this song has been on there at some point or other. Now, well, I mean, like I said, that's kind of a more serious song. It's again, sort of the, talking about, you grow up in the suburbs and, it feels kind of dead and like nothing's happening. So, it's honestly very similar in theme to Subdivisions by Rush, which is a very different song, but it's the same thing, coming from the suburbs to the city for the action, the excitement, the fun, the people, and then kind of getting rejected and, chewed up and spit out by the city and finding yourself back where you started in the endless suburbs and wondering if there's a way to break the cycle. Now let's throw all of that societal, philosophical, sociological debate out the window and go to Movin' Right Along, which is sung by a puppet frog and a puppet bear in a car, driving from an unknown swamp to Hollywood. So this is a song from the Muppet movie. It was written by Paul Williams and Kenneth Asher, who did just an unbelievable job on this soundtrack. This song is Rainbow Connection. There are so many songs. The Muppet movie, a lot of times when shows try to make a movie and it doesn't go well, I'm sure we can all think of plenty of them. The Muppet movie was amazing, coming out of what the Muppet Show was. For so many reasons, not least of which is the music. And this song is Kermit the Frog, who I have often been compared to in various ways, not least when I had too much vocal tension. Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. I had a tendency to sing with a very constricted throat, and it was often compared to Kermit the Frog. But I also relate to Kermit just trying to be the organized one, the sane one, just trying to hold this merry band of dorks together and slowly losing his mind. But he grows up playing banjo in a swamp and decides he wants something bigger. Honestly, now that I think about this, it's almost on topic with Sprawl 2. And I hadn't realized this before now. He's in the swamp and he wants to go to the big city. He wants something more, something bigger. He wants to go to Hollywood and be in the movies playing his banjo and singing because he's a frog. So why not? And he meets Fozzie the Bear, who sort of a drifting wannabe comic who's got a similar dream, and they decide to go to Hollywood together. And unfortunately, between the two of them, they have about 3 brain cells that are being shared back and forth. And the trip does not go quite so smoothly for a whole number of reasons. But this is very much the hitting the road song, about, I don't know, first 20 minutes, I think. They're kind of setting out on our adventure. And it's also in E flat. And I'm going to sort of do the voices that Jim Henson of Kermit the Frog and Frank Oz of Fozzie Bear do. I'm not going to worry about it too much, but I'll try to give you some of the idea. So this is the song they sing as they set out on the road. Moving right along in search of good times and good news, with good friends you can't lose. This could become a habit. Opportunity knocks once, let's reach out and grab it. Together we'll nab it. We'll hitchhike, bus, or yellow cab it. moving right along, footloose and fancy free. Getting there is half the fun, come share it with me. Moving right along, we're here to share the load. We don't need a map to keep this show on the road. That line is foreshadowing because a later verse is California, here we come, your pie in the No, actually, Fozzie takes that. California, here we come, your pie in the skyland. Palm trees and warm sand, though sadly we just left Rhode Island. We did what? Just forget it. Moving right along. Hey, LA, where have you gone? Send someone to fetch us, we're in Saskatchewan. Speaking of Canada, as we were for Arcade Fire earlier. But again, similar tempo, same key. This one, the chords are a little more, there are a few more chords. You got this E flat, A flat 7, F7, and then it's an A flat chord over B flat. That's the verse, and you got this G over B, moving right along, C minor, B flat, G over B, C minor, B flat augmented, which means this F sharp instead of an F natural, back to the E flat. That's the thing about a lot of the songs, like, you know, people think of the Muppets and, you know, the association with Sesame Street and stuff, and it's true for Sesame Street as well, like kids' songs. But the amount of time and effort they put into writing the songs and arranging the songs and performing the songs, there's some really fantastic stuff going on. It's just that the lyrics are goofy and they're sung by puppet animals that, you know, people might not take the time to really analyze what's going on musically. But, you know, even stuff like It's Not Easy Being Green, another Kermit the Frog staple, is just musically, there's a lot going on and it's all good. So I don't know exactly what it was that made this segue come to mind. I was learning Sprawl 2 just because I wanted to. And somehow, like, just this ending refrain, I need the darkness, someone please shut the light. Like, I just wanted to hear in my head, someone please shut the light. Like, that riff just entered my head, and I'm just like, oh no, I don't know about this. And so I actually went to my sister, because we were sharing an apartment at the time, and I said, and I played her Sprawl 2, and I said, you know this song, right? She said, yeah, I've heard it. I said, does it remind you of anything? She's like, no, I don't think so. And so I paused it, like I had it playing, and I went to the Muppet movie soundtrack in my library while Sprawl 2 was playing, and I switched it to right in that moment. Please shut the light. 2, 3, 4. And she just burst out laughing and said, oh no, why would you do that? And that's how I knew I had a winner in terms of ruin the mood segues. So it really is that simple. E flat is the key for both. You have the last chorus of Sprawl 2. Mountains beyond mountains, and there's no end in sight. I need the darkness, someone please shut the lights. And you can add a tag there if you want. And there's no end in sight. Just do this again. I need the darkness, someone please shut the lights. I need the darkness, someone please shut the lights. However you would end it. And you really just hold on to please shut the lights. 2, 3, 4. And whatever is taking this melody, in my case it's the piano, the right hand. In the original it's a piano and a banjo. Everything else drops out to really let the focus go on that riff. So anyone who knows it will, and this might be one where it takes people a moment to realize exactly what it is. Like, oh, this riff is familiar. Oh, no. Or they might just know right away. moving right along in search of good times and good news. And I say you can sing this song in a normal voice and just have it be one voice, as opposed to the two characters back and forth. It does work. You can make it work. Um, so like you don't have to go full Muppets to perform this. And if you want, this honestly might be. I feel like I would be a little more likely to do just the first verse and chorus of Moving Right Along. So I would do Sprawl 2, then do the first chorus of Moving Right Along, and just end. I don't really see much point in going back into Sprawl 2. The mood has been ruined. You're not going to reclaim it. You might as well just let it, let it end in laughter. But if you don't want to do the full song and the full story, of Moving Right Along, because the soundtrack version is extended even further than the movie version. It has, the whole road trip in it. You don't have to do that whole thing. You get the point across with one verse and chorus. So you can do that, or you can do the whole song, but that's how I like to do it. Sprawl 2 into Moving Right Along, and then however much of Moving Right Along you want to do. And there you go. You have successfully ruined the mood of this thoughtful, sociological synth pop song by sending it straight to the Muppets. So, hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully you've learned something, and I'll see you again, hopefully sometime soon.